Hi there! In this video, we will discuss the summary of the 18th chapter of El Filibusterismo, or The Reign of Greed, written by Dr. Jose Rizal, titled Legerdemain. We will also study the important events, characters, settings, and lessons found in this chapter. Listen and watch carefully, as you will learn a lot from this historical work by Rizal. Let's begin. This chapter tells the story of Mr. Leeds, an American magician, performing a mysterious act in front of prominent figures such as Ben Zabe, Don Custodio, Padre Salvi, Padre Irene, and other guests. Mr. Leeds, who speaks fluent Spanish, invites the audience to inspect his tools before and after the performance, but asks them to remain silent during the act. Ben Zabe, hoping to expose Mr. Leeds as a fraud, tries to discover the secret behind the magic. He carefully examines the table, expecting to find mirrors or optical illusions. Despite his efforts, he finds no such devices. Mr. Leeds begins the show by presenting an old box he claims to have discovered in a pyramid in Egypt. The box supposedly contains ashes and pieces of papyrus with two magical words written on them. When he utters the words Deramoth, the box opens, and a head with long hair and a frightening appearance emerges. The head introduces itself as Imuthis, a man from the time of the pharaohs who died during the rule of Cambyses. Imuthis recounts his tragic fate, explaining that he was accused of treason by priests and killed to silence what he knew. As the head tells its story, it seems to focus on Padre Salvi, as if accusing him of sin and evil. The more the head speaks, the more it seems to directly call out Padre Salvi, who becomes visibly disturbed. When the head calls Padre Salvi a murderer and a hypocrite, he becomes terrified and faints, causing a commotion among the audience. After the performance, the attendees are asked to leave, and Don Custodio suggests banning the show, calling it immoral. In the end, Mr. Leeds disappears, leaving behind his secrets and tools, fleeing to Hong Kong before the government can stop his performances. Now, let's move on to the important events in this chapter. Mr. Leeds, an American magician fluent in Spanish, performs a mysterious act before prominent figures, including Ben Zabe, Don Custodio, Padre Salvi, and others, inviting the audience to inspect his tools before and after the show. Despite Ben Zabe's efforts to expose the act as a fraud, he finds no evidence of mirrors or tricks in Mr. Leeds' setup. During the performance, Mr. Leeds uses an ancient box supposedly discovered in an Egyptian pyramid, summoning the frightening head of Imuthis, who recounts his tragic death and accusations of treason against priests during the rule of Cambyses. The head appears to focus on Padre Salvi, accusing him of sin and hypocrisy, culminating in a direct condemnation that causes Padre Salvi to faint in terror. Following the commotion, Don Custodio calls for banning the show as immoral, but Mr. Leeds disappears, fleeing to Hong Kong before the government can intervene. Important characters: Mr. Leeds, an American magician who performs a mysterious act involving an old box he claims to have found in an Egyptian pyramid. He brings out the head of Imuthis to tell its story to the audience. Ben Zabe, a journalist and writer who doubts Mr. Leeds' magic and tries to uncover the tricks behind it but fails. Padre Salvi, a priest who becomes terrified and faints when the head of Imuthis seems to accuse him directly of being a sinner, murderer, and hypocrite. Don Custodio, an official and critic who attends the performance and later suggests banning the show, deeming it immoral. Padre Irene, another priest present at the performance who helps attend to Padre Salvi when he faints. Imuthis, the head that emerges from the box. It tells a story of betrayal and injustice and serves as the source of tension in the chapter. Let us now proceed to the setting of this chapter. The events take place at the fair, specifically in Mr. Leeds' tent. Here are some of the lessons, messages, or implications shown in this chapter. This chapter highlights the importance of being critical and not believing everything one sees. Ben Zabe represents people who are skeptical and inquisitive, yet his inability to uncover Mr. Leeds' tricks teaches that some things cannot easily be explained or understood with simple observation. The appearance of Imuthis' head symbolizes the revelation of truth and the exposure of wrongdoing by those in power, such as priests who hide their sins behind a facade of holiness. It shows that evil, no matter how carefully concealed, will eventually come to light. Padre Salvi's reaction to Imuthis' accusations illustrates the power of guilt and conscience. His fainting symbolizes being overwhelmed by his own sins and hypocrisy. This chapter teaches that wrongdoings will eventually catch up to the perpetrator, and no secret remains hidden forever. And that concludes the 18th chapter of El Filibusterismo, Legerdemain. What have you learned from this chapter? Share your answers in the comments. We also encourage you to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay updated with our future videos. Until next time, thank you for watching.